Okay. So let's start. Okay. So the way we go about, especially during my classes, is the fact that you can stop me at any moment of time to add something that you think is relevant in the course of this presentation. You can also stop at me at any moment of time to ask me a question. So this is not a conventional classroom class where the teacher speaks and the students are supposed to listen. It's more of a conversation that we are going to. And this particular unit, MDI 1, is basically introduces things on migration, the core concepts of migration, diaspora, transnationalism, and global. And what you typically do is, Navya, if you can typically take down keywords. You can have your mobile in case you are on a laptop. You can have a mobile on which you can parallelly check what is what, or note down keywords which you can read further. A great way to study today is to note down keywords and elaborate on them. So let's quickly go through this as to what is migration, what is diaspora. Migration is not a new phenomena, old as the human evolution. People used to migrate from one place to another, from one continent to another, even before the birth of nation states. So now the question is, what is the difference between a nation and a state? So, Navya, if you take out your browser and find out what is the difference between a nation and a state. Can you do that and tell me?
Sure, sir.
Huh.
Sure.
So, if you are able to understand the whole concept of nation and state, uh, that's a great way to start.
Sir, nation entails a group of people sharing cultural, language, historical, and ethnicity,
Okay.
shared and group identity, shared identity within a defined territory, whereas a
Okay.
state is a political unit with defined borders and a government that
Correct. So if
exercises
you look at
authority.
Correct. So if you look at
Yes.
it, when we look at the Indian subcontinent, the people of the Indian subcontinent, which includes various states, political units
Yes.
like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, we share a common culture. So
Yes.
actually, if you look at it in the true sense of the word nation, that is why it's called the Indian subcontinent, because there is a common culture, languages are common, various dresses, things are common. But when we look at state as a political unit, then there are these individual states. And inevitably, when we use the word migration, we are typically looking at people. There are two types of migration where people travel, one internal to a state in a state, and when they cross the national boundary or the state boundary, then it's an international migration. So if a person was to travel from here to Nepal, it is an international migration. But if a person was to travel from, say, Himachal to Delhi, that's an internal migration. Migration are both. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so if we were to look at a map of migration, this is how. And if you have read anything about history or evolution or how human beings evolved, human beings have been on this planet 1.9 million year ago. They, the current modern human being or the Homo sapien is about a lakh years old. Our average age is about 70, 65, 70, 75. Humans have been here for many, many, many generations, and all evolution happened in Africa. So essentially, when the human evolution happened in Africa, and humans traveled from Africa to all parts of the world, then you find it ridiculous when states today or nation states today talk about anti-immigrant policy, because Actually, technically, all of us are immigrants.
Yes, sir.
All of us have migrated from one part of the world to another. And if you look at, if you've been following the news, there is an anti-immigrant sentiment in the US, there is an anti-immigrant sentiment in Europe, there's an anti-immigrant sentiment in India and various other parts of the world. But essentially, everybody is a migrant. Everybody is an immigrant, has come from somewhere. So
Yes.
this is a contradiction which is there. So this is a map, which is Encyclopedia Britannia. Look at another map, early human migration across the globe. So if you see, all migration happened from Africa, and that's how it happened. It's a world history encyclopedia. Gives a good idea, gives a good perspective. And inevitably, academics is about perspectives. When we do this classes, it's not about right and wrong, good or bad, or true or false. These are about perspectives. Scholarly pursuits and academics is all about perspectives. How do you look at a thing? So this is how migration happened across the globe. I think I have one more map. Yes, another map on world migrations. Since 1500, if you see, how Europeans moved, Africans moved, and everybody is migrating all the time. Today,
Yes.
people are migrating because of jobs, because of marriage, because of, and it's all, migration is always because of a perceived betterment of life. So most migrations are a perceived, and I use the word perceived because it may not actually be a betterment of life. For example, all people who migrate from rural areas to urban areas may not have a better quality of life, but there's a perception of a betterment, the perception of a livelihood, perception of earning money to be able to send back home, etc., etc. And the same is with international migration. So these maps are there. So migration is permanent, semi-permanent change of residence by individual, family, or group, caused by various factors for better economic opportunities, lifestyle, better education. And this better is a very subjective word. So something which might be better for me may not be better for you. So better is a very subjective word. Family unification, and today natural calamities, I mean historically also natural calamities, but climate change is a new one. Spread of epidemics, wars has always been historically a reason for migration. Change in national boundaries. So look at the fact that in 1947, when the undivided India was divided into three nation states, there was a whole lot of migration, a major migration which happened because of this change of national boundaries. Genocide, religious and social ostracization. So all these are factors for migration. Migration can be of various types, voluntary or involuntary. Involuntary is forced, internal or international, temporary or permanent, regular or irregular, multiple ways they are. Migration is the most complex component of population change. Diffusion of ideas, information indicates symptoms of social and economic change, human adjustment to economic, environment, and social problems. And inevitably, if you look at it, migration is the reason that new ideas get diffused, because whenever people migrate, they carry a, they carry their culture wherever they go. And when they interact with the new culture, something newness comes about. And that is why inevitably migration is supposed to be good. Immigrants are supposed to be good if you look at in terms of it. And as you go through units, you will find out why we are talking this and what typically happens for migration and when immigrants come inside a country. What is their contribution? In the various units throughout this course, you will see that.
Okay, sir.
So at any moment of time, if you feel that I'm going a little faster, you can slow me down. Otherwise, I'll keep this pace. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
Migration is an interdisciplinary subject, movement of people from one place to another. Psychologically, if you look at it, you could try and analyze why a person, a family, or a community decides to take a decision to migrate. Remember, it's not an easy thing to migrate because you
Yes,
are ensconced in a particular culture, you are ensconced in a particular surroundings, and then you are taking a risk to change that culture and surrounding. And it's an absolutely unknown thing that you're going into. Today things have become easier because before a person migrates, with the advent of social media and faster communication and transportation, one already has an idea about where one is going, because you can see a 360-degree video of the place you're going. You can read about it, talk to people online about what is going on. Think about the fact that earlier, before the advent of internet and social media, how difficult would have been for people to migrate, because the transportation was not so fast. Once you migrate, coming back was almost an impossible thing.
yes, sir. So that is why I guess earlier migration was seen in a negative light rather than positive, and nowadays it is quite positive.
But again, it's a perspective. So think about the fact that if you were in a war situation,
Yes,
what
sir.
choice you had but to migrate? Or you are in a famine situation, what choice did you have but to migrate? Or let's say, for example, people, Indian, or the people of India and Pakistan, in the undivided India, were staying at various places till such time a political movement decided to make three nation states. What was the people's fault in this? They were staying, they were forced to migrate for whatever reasons, political reasons.
Yes,
So
sir.
negative or positive again is a very subjective perspective. See, today when we look at it in a positive way, because for a simple reason, the connections back home are much easier. The transportation is much easier, or faster, cheaper. The communication is faster, cheaper, 24 by 7. So you look at it in the positive way. But actually, if you see, migration is not easy because you are leaving your, it's like you have your roots at a particular place. So, for example, you are, you are, attuned to a particular culture of Himachal. You know the people, you know the language, you know their lifestyle, and then you are thrown somewhere, let's say Gurgaon, or let's say Mumbai. Now you are in a foreign place, even though it is the same country, you have an alien culture, an alien language. And on top of that, if you look at the political mobilization which is happening in terms of learning the local language, or we'll beat you up or something up to that, it's actually
Yes,
a
sir.
negative connotation for a person. It is a huge change for a person to adjust to. And think about the fact you are still in your own country. Think when you have to do an international migration where there's a total new culture, and you are in a totally alien place, and you can't even come back so fast because there is a visa, there is the thing about booking, it's costly. So again, this negatives and positives are perspectives, or how you look at it. Okay.
Okay.
Part of the process of transformation of social structures and institutions and entire, because as I said, when people migrate, they carry their culture, they carry ideas, and then those particular cultures and ideas engage with the new place, uh, and create a new structure, new institutions. The whole American, infrastructure, or the whole American economy is basically constructed out of migrants. because the original inhabitants of America are hardly present out there, because the Europeans came in first, and then various other people came in, and now the same migrants are politically talking about a ban on immigration. Sounds ironical, but that's how the
Yes, sir.
political process goes. So we have to understand, whenever we are studying migration, diaspora, transnationalism, we have to understand the underlying political process also. Political process is a very important process. And again, there is nothing right, wrong that we look at, true, false, good, bad. We are just looking at the process as a part of academics. Factors which influence the decision of an immigrant can be divided as those operating in the area of origin, push factors, and destination, pull factors. So this push factors and pull factors are another keywords that you would continuously hear throughout various courses, various units. And remember, when you are looking at giving your examination, your term examinations, or you're writing a paper, it's very important to remember those keywords to put in. You will need
Yes, sir.
to basically construct an answer. At the micro level, migration is the result of decision made by an individual, the rational actor. Now, we are introducing the individual as a rational actor. But as we go through various units, as we go through this course, we realize that many a times this rational actor is actually not rational, but there are other factors which come into the picture. So migration can be descriptive classifications, geographical classification, transoceanic, transcontinental, border migration, neighbor migration, regional migration, chronological, time periods, short term, long term, temporary, permanent, demographic, economic classifications, individual, family, male, female, highly skilled, skilled migration. Migrants themselves can be classified into so many classifications.
Yes, sir.
Political and legal classifications, migrant under regular. So when you say aliens, they are not aliens, they are not illegal migrants, they are undocumented migrants. Because each country, each state, or each nation state as it is, each nation state has a process and protocol as to how do people from other nation states come inside that state. And when the term is used as illegal migrants or aliens, actually it's a political term. The technical term is undocumented migrants, because when we've seen, in the sense, everybody is a migrant, because everybody has moved out of Africa. But once
Yes,
the nation states came about and the states started bringing in processes and protocols to prevent, so the states typically have policies of exclusion, whom to allow inside their country and who to exclude and not bring inside the country. And
yes,
in
sir. So
such case, sorry, Bolo.
So any diversion from those policies would result in that person becoming an illegal migrant.
Undocumented.
Yes.
The illegal migrant is a political term. It's actually an undocumented. So now the
Oh,
question is, if a person is undocumented, why don't the nation states create mechanisms to make sure that everybody who comes in gets documented? Now here the politics comes into the picture. So think about the fact that from 1500 onwards, when colonization came about, European countries marched across the world and took over various countries in the global south
yes.
without anybody inviting them. So, for example, British ruled India for 200 years. Nobody invited them. They just came
Yes.
one day, set up factories, and then took over the country. Now, when Indians want to go and stay in Britain, in UK, or go and stay at various places, there are all kinds of rules and regulations. You can't do it.
Yes.
So in a way, there is a political process which basically excludes people from coming in. And then we'll also see how the global north, more often than the Western countries, have this political skewedness where they want, because they have been the dominant, political powers in the world, they have a set of rules for themselves and a different set of rules for the global south. And now, because of the changing political conditions, they do not know how to react to these new, sensibilities which are happening in the world with global South, like China rising. You see how US is reacting to the rise of China.
Yes, sir.
So it's a very interesting. So when you talk about international psychology, how nation states, how politicians, how leaders behave, it's a great way to study this.
Yes, sir.
So, fixes two basic features of international migration: international migrant stock and migration flow. Stock means a measure of number of inter at a given point of time. So, if you were to do a survey, let's say in the place you stay, and find out how many people are there who were not born there, that is called stock.
Okay.
Flow means the number of people arriving in or departing. So you might have people coming in as tourists and departing out to try and get a job out here. That is a flow. So this is the two basic features of migration: stock and flow. So stock is how many people there. So at any moment of time, if you take a census or if you take a survey, how many of you were born out here, and who have come from outside, will give you a measure of stock. Whereas if you stand at, let's say, a bus stop or a train station or an airport and say how many people are coming in from outside and how many people are leaving, that's the flow. Both measures are necessary to assess migration trends and provide complementary insights for policy purpose. And now, why do we need to worry about migration? Because people are migrating all the time. And if people are migrating all the time, so the number of people in a particular country, area, place is varying. Now, when nation states or countries are allocating resources for their citizens or for people in their geographical boundaries, they need to know how many people are there.
Yes.
And that is why we need to know how much migration. So if the Indian state does not know how many people are migrating out of the country, what are these people, how educated they are, or how rich or poor they are, or why are they migrating, you cannot create any policy for the welfare of the citizens of the country. So we don't, before the Ukraine Russian war, we didn't even know, people didn't know that 20,000 Indian students were studying in Ukraine. So a
Yes, sir.
natural question media would need to ask is, if 20,000 students are studying in Ukraine, look at the amount of outflow of money which is happening from India to Ukraine. And why can't we create such medical colleges in India to attract the students back? Because at the end of the day, when a student goes outside to study, he is carrying money. And that is why migration becomes an important thing, because immigrant, when he or she goes outside, A, spends money to go there. B, when he or she earns money in a immigrant country or in a destination country, then they pay tax out there. They are adding to the economic value of that country, and your country is losing.
Yes.
So that is why it is important to know about migration. That is why governments need to know about migration. So this is a mobility and migration chart, types of migration. Incidentally, this whole presentation will be in the form of a YouTube video, which you can download and see. In case you still want, a copy of the PPT, you can message me.
Yes, sir, I would really appreciate that.
You can send me a mail. I'm
Okay, sir.
giving you this mail ID in the chat. So that's my mail ID. Or typically, if you want a PPT, send me a mail, and you can also uh, get in touch with me on WhatsApp. That's the number. So you can note that down.
Okay, sir.
So just send me a request saying that I want a copy of the PPT. I can send you the PPT. Not an issue at all.
Okay, sir.
So there are some theories as a part of the unit. There are some theories of international migration. Again, you need to understand that you don't need to remember everything, but if you are able to remember certain keywords, and they will be intuitive, certain keywords, then you will be able to construct an answer for your examination as well as for doing your assignments. Through sociology, anthropology, demographic, economics, it's an interdisciplinary field. Economic theories from a perspective of geographical difference in supply and demand. A country or a region which has a large presence of labor related to the availability of capital with an excess supply of labor and low wages. So look at the fact. India today has a huge demographic dividend, a huge population, which is of an age group which is ready to work. So if the Indian state cannot provide work for its youngsters, those people will migrate.
Yes,
And
sir.
then you break this down to each state in the Indian nation. So if Himachal can, or Uttarakhand, or Haryana, or Punjab, or Assam cannot provide work for its youngsters, both men and women, those youngsters will migrate to either other states where there is work, or they will go internationally wherever they can find work.
Yes, sir. Outflow can be seen from Himachal and Uttarakhand to
Absolutely,
Punjab.
absolutely, absolutely, everywhere.
Yes,
And people will, as I said, will continuously keep looking at opportunities whichever they think is better, and that better is a perceived better.
yes, sir. And another example for labor migration could be outflow from our country to Gulf countries because
Absolutely,
people go
absolutely.
there for cheap labor. Yes, sir.
Not only cheap labor, then you look at the fact that there are multiple considerations, but more often than not, you get in a foreign currency, which when converted to Indian currency is much more money. So essentially, people go there to earn that extra money to be able to send back home.
Yes, sir.
But the same happens with internal migration. So people from, let's say, UP, Bihar, or Uttarakhand, or Himachal, where there are not enough jobs, will travel to south like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, uh, and earn money and then send it home to create infrastructure and economic prosperity for people back home.
Yes, sir. Even within the state, I have seen that there is a huge trend of in matlab, our Himachal, people
Uh,
from very backward places migrate to the places which are very commercially good in tourism.
to be
So
able
this
to
is,
be able to get a job,
yes, sir.
earn money, and send back home.
Yes, sir. Even
Absolutely.
there is seasonal migration where for
Absolutely.
6 months or 7 months people just move.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, at the end of the day, uh, which is what we talked about, everybody migrates to improve their lot for betterment
Yes,
of life. Then there is a neoclassical theory. Labor market mechanism are a direct and sole factor influencing decision of individuals to migrate. So inevitably, the labor is the human being who wants to work, and in the absence of any work would migrate to a place where there is work available.
Yes.
Then there is international migration, investment in human capital. Now, migration is not simple because for a simple reason, as we were talking earlier, migration is a difficult task. It requires a cost to migrate. So, for example, if you are migrating from, let's say, even from Himachal to Delhi, there's a cost in terms of a bus ticket.
Yes.
Then, in terms of where will you stay in Delhi, in terms of how will you get a job, do you have to go to a recruitment agency, do you have to submit a bio, do you need a particular skill, that is also a cost. International migration becomes that much more expensive because there's a plane ticket, there is a visa fee, there is a passport fee. So inevitably for doing that there's a cost. In order to earn higher wages, some investment must be made. Effort to required to learn another language, adjusting to a different culture, psychological cost of leaving friends and family behind, meeting new people are examples of such costs. So there's always a cost. There's a cost benefit. And that's the reason why I keep saying a perceived betterment of life.
Yes, sir. An example could be quoted here that there are many families in Punjab who literally spend all their assets and all their money to just send their kids to Canada or something. And
Absolutely. In fact, there was a study in which there was a large indebtedness in rural Punjab because they sell their lands, take loans, and send their children abroad. You're absolutely right.
yes, sir.
That pay and employment differentials across. So pay and employment differentials across countries are primarily motivators for pay. So essentially, one of the neoclassical theory says that pay and employment differentials across country are primary motivators for people to migrate. Migration will come to a halt once the disparities are eliminated, but we will see subsequently that it is not as simple as this. There are many other factors, but this particular theory, also remember, the theories have been made or have been put forward by scholars in particular contexts. Every theory has its limitations. In psychology, for example, you see, some psychologists would explain how people function in a particular way, in a particular context. But then
Yes,
subsequently,
sir.
somebody debunked that theory and said, no, that's not the way people work.
Yes, sir.
Then there is a new economics of migration emerged in the 80s. Again, as I said, these are time-based, scholar-based, time-based, a particular context.
So I have a question.
Tell me.
The neoclassical theory, the neoclassical perspective, is the perspective where we use push and pull factors, right? Like
Push,
the
push,
keywords push and pull.
the push and pull will be across.
Okay.
Most of these theories, again, as I said, you don't need to remember these theories. These are because this is an introductory class in terms of NDI 1. This gives you an understanding when you are reading, let's say, the Indian diaspora or the Indian migration or the Southeastern migration. In MDI 3, we'll be looking at East African, West African, and you will see somewhere down the line there is a push and pull factor.
Okay.
These theories are basically, you can explain migration in terms of these theories. Again, each theory has its limitation. Each theory was propounded at a particular time of and by a particular scholar. So they have different ways of looking at things. Okay.
Okay.
So the new economics of migration integrated approach created to connect different levels of social structure, historical and contemporary activities. Individual rationality and microeconomic conditions are no longer considered as sole factor influencing decision making. See, in each theory, there will be a push and pull factor. For example, in the neoclassical theory, the pull and push factor would be the push factor will be typically lack of employment, and the pull
Yes, sir.
factor would be employment and a better pay. Navya?
Yes, sir. I
And if
understood. Yes, sir.
and if I go to a new economics of migration, the there will be a social structure. The
Yes, sir.
family would say, if my child goes abroad, remember there is a social stature, the highest social stature of a person coming from US, in spite of
Yes,
the
sir.
fact that the person in the US might be a janitor.
Yes, the perceived value of
Perceived value
an NRI. Yes, sir.
and historical. So, for example, Indians would prefer to go to UK because there is a connection between Britain and India.
Yes, sir.
Individual rationality and microeconomic are no longer considered. For example, why do so many people from Punjab go to Canada? Because Canada has the highest Sikh population after India. So
Yes, sir.
historically, Sikhs have settled in Canada. So whenever people in Punjab are looking at migration, their first choice will be Canada. It is something similar to people from Bihar might have their first choice to travel to Delhi or to Mumbai or to, let's say,
Yes,
Trivandrum or Tiruvananthapuram, based
yes,
on
sir.
historical basis of this movement. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Significance of bigger groups of individuals such as families, homes, or even communities as the link between macro and micro level analysis. So there is a huge population of Sikhs or Punjabis in Canada, and that creates a pull factor for the new generation migrants from Punjab to go to Canada.
Yes,
And the push factor is possibly the drug problem in Punjab, possibly the corruption, possibly lack of employment opportunity becomes a push factor.
yes, sir.
People's collective goals are to maximize expected income by minimizing risk associated with all types of market failures. Perceived benefit.
Yes, sir.
You will always choose a option in which you are getting a perceived benefit, even if it involves you taking the hard decision of migrating from your existing culture into a new culture, from your existing place into a new place.
Yes, sir. But
Okay.
Punjabis going to Canada is also their risk perception because they might feel that in any other country they wouldn't feel way better than, Canada because
Possible.
they are very comfortable there.
Possibly. Again, as I said, this is one of the reasons. There might be other reasons. When you do a research,
Yes, sir.
when you do, when you ask people and you, ask, it could be, individual or family motives might be different. It might also
Yes, sir.
be a difference in terms of from village to village, because remember, Canada is again not a small place. So why
Yes,
are
sir.
certain people going to Vancouver? Why certain people are going to Toronto, British Columbia? Why? There might be individual differences. So
Yes,
it
sir.
is not straightforward a brushstroke that you can paint it everywhere. Okay. It's the
Okay.
same thing as 20,000 students studying medicine in Ukraine. How would that have happened? Inevitably, some students might have gone from some place, would have found out that the studies were good, it was cheaper, they would have got what is called chain migration.
Yes, sir. Spreading the word and
Absolutely. Economic improvement in sending nations may not mean the end of migration. On the contrary, it mean increased strain on migration. So initially all these theories also said, for example, the new classical theory says once that difference of employment and pay happens, that difference reduces, migration will stop. But sometimes if there is money which comes back to the sending place, will enable more people to migrate. So, migration can be caused because of multiple reasons. A rise in return on local productivity will make migration more appealing as a means of overcoming capital and risk restriction. It is something like this. You get to see a place which you find is much better than where you are staying, and then you have the money to be able to travel to that place. You will take the call.
Yes, sir.
It's a different thing whether that place you're going to is actually much better than the place that you are. It's like the rural urban migration. A lot of people in the rural areas find that urban areas are, when they are in the rural areas, they find the urban areas better. But when they come to the urban areas, actually their quality of life is much worse than what they were in their villages.
Yes, sir.
So it's a very interesting conundrum. Regardless of whether pay differential exists or not, the model predicts migration will pursue. So the new economics of migration says migration will continue to happen. As we have said, inevitably throughout history, migration has always been there. So
Yes,
now
sir.
the question you will ask is, so if migration is always there and everybody understands that migration continues to happen, why do nations create these policies to prevent migration? Well, that's politics.
Yes.
Households in community with
Even
varying, bolo.
even like predicted future is that migration will become way more in coming years because there will be a demographic dividend in our country, and then there will be like for example global south will have those vacancies which need to be filled with our demographic dividend, and then the migration will boom eventually. So predicted future is migration will exponentially grow
There are
by
you are
like
absolutely
2050s or
they are
something.
absolutely right, but migration will also grow because of climate change, because of more wars happening, because of more political turmoil, because of loss of jobs. The whole economy is going through a tremendous shift in terms of technology and other reasons. In fact, there's a whole generation of students who are studying for jobs which will not be there in the next decade or so.
Yes, sir.
So, this tremendous changes are happening. It's a very
Uh,
interesting world that, it's a great time to be young today, but it's really a bad time to be young today.
yes, sir.
So it's an interesting world that we are going to be, which you people are inhabiting. Okay. So we read about migration. Let's look at mobility. There's a difference between migration and mobility. Mobility is ability or capacity to move. Mobility researchers not only interested in ability of people to move, but also in the flow of goods through space and time. So if there is, for example, a blockage, what it means for the movements of good and how that impacts service globally. So, for example, today, when the new US government, the Trump administration is, threatening to impose sanctions or impose tariffs, it is basically impacting mobility.
Yes.
Movement, but yet another aspect of mobility is the absence or limitations of movement as factors that play in individual, group, or material immobility. So the very fact that you are now picking up undocumented immigrants and pushing them or chaining them will have effects on mobility. What makes one individual group, and look at the fact, uh, the whole American economy is based on immigrants.
Yes,
And
sir.
politically, now you are going against the immigrants. So obviously you are, bringing barriers to mobility. Now, inevitably, we will see, or you will figure that out, that once barriers are created, then everything which is legalized goes illegal. It's something like this: when your parents say no to you to do something, earlier when you were doing things and you were talking to them, now you will still do it, but you will not tell them.
Yes, sir.
So every time something you create a barrier, then the visible becomes invisible.
Yes, so this happened with the tariffs case when India imposed so many taxes and there was a surge of illegal stock exchange and everything.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, and that's where politics comes into the picture.
Yes, sir.
So today, what Trump administration is doing is in the realm of politics. It is not in the realm of economics. It is in the realm of politics. So one needs to understand, again, as I said, this whole academics and scholarly pursuit is more about perspectives to be able to understand how and why, and not worry about the good and bad. The good and bad is your individual understanding. Okay, so let's quickly understand what a diaspora is. Population that is scattered across regions which are separated from its geographical place of origin. That's a diaspora. Technically, again, migration is different from a diaspora. Every migrant is not a diaspora. We'll see why. Identify with a specific geographical location but currently reside elsewhere. So essentially, it is also a migrant, but there are certain conditions in which a migrant becomes a diaspora.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see what are those conditions. In fact, the Jewish experience remained the paradigm for a very long time, was marked by the destruction of Jerusalem. So, in fact, a whole lot of diaspora studies was centered around the Jews. Subsequently, it has expanded to cover every other community. The Jews as a diaspora, studies was a shade of victimization, negativity in the whole sense of the word. Subsequently, the term diaspora is associated with positivity also. Concept was radically reordered in response to the growing transnationalism. Another word we are introducing, transnationalism. We'll subsequently see what is transnationalism. So these are keywords that you need to keep, remembering and using in your answer construction. Engagement and formal. So what typically is a diaspora? So main characteristics of a diaspora. So when does a migrant become a diaspora? They or their ancestors have been displaced from an original center to two or more foreign regions, retain a collective memory, visions, or myth about their original homeland, including its location, history, and achievement. They believe they are not and perhaps can never be fully accepted in their host society and so remain partially separate. Now, again, you need to understand all these characteristics were made in a particular context of time. Remember earlier, before the advent of faster transportation and 24 by 7 communication, once the person traveled from a place to another place, the chances of him or her coming back was remote because it was expensive, it was far, you could not communicate back, and more often than not, your idea of home was in your mind.
Yes.
Today, with 24 by 7 communication and social media, you're almost connected back in real time. Ancestor home is idealized. When conditions are favorable, either they or their descendants should return. They believe all members of the diaspora should be committed to the maintenance or restoration of original homelands, continue in various ways to relate to the homelands in ethno-communal consciousness. So when American Indians or non-resident Indians make statements about the state of India, in spite of the fact they are American citizens, they are a diaspora. They're not migrants.
So someone having psychological, cultural, emotional, and social ties with their homeland
Connects.
without,
And hoping to come back one day, but
yes,
actually is not coming back.
yes, sir.
Migrants typically move back and forth. Your migrant can be a short term, can be a long term. Typically when you are a migrant and then you develop this collective conscience and set up organizations, or you are connected back home, and you are having all these links back home, and you have this notion of coming back, then you are a diaspora. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then Safran's, this six considerations about diaspora was further enhanced by Cohen in 95, but added four additional features. Should also include scattering groups with aggressive or voluntary purpose. Strong connection with the past that acts as a block to so essentially these groups, and if you see, uh, Indians, Chinese, Koreans, or various other groups, wherever they are, let's say in the US, they have their separate identity. They are connected back home through various connections. They are always tom-tomming about their culture. They continue to hold on to their culture. They do not assimilate. Now, what
Yes.
typically happens is the first generation does not assimilate. The second generation is a little khichdi, part of assimilation. But subsequent generations, some of them do assimilate or become totally American, and some of them are confused between India and America, or between
Yes,
China
sir.
and America, or Korea and America. Cohen
So,
also says, हाँ बोलो.
so if let's say teenager is not like they are not actually recognizing their ties, so would they be considered as diaspora or not? Like they are fully recognizing themselves as the
As Americans.
resident. Yeah.
As Americans. See,
Yes, sir.
inevitably, it again depends on whether the teenage was born there or here. More often than not, if they are born there, then the pressure to assimilate into that culture is much stronger than the ability to integrate into the Indian culture. Now that's where there is a problem, because the first generation parents would want the teenager to try and become an Indian in terms of cultural, whereas the teenager, in wanting to adjust to the local situation, tries to become an American. And there is a the Indian movie called Namesake.
Mhm.
I think it's a Meera Nair movie. Namesake is the name of the movie, where this Bengali couple goes to the US, has two children, and the look at the conflict. So are you an American? Are you an Indian? So you're a brown skin. So the
Yes, sir.
Americans do not uh, treat you as an American because you're a brown skin, and yet you were born there, and the mannerisms, you are trying to fit in with the American mannerisms, and the parents and the Indian group wants to keep you Indian. It's a one hell of a confusion which these guys go through. So
Yes,
some
sir.
of them totally reject. Technically they are still diasporas because there is a connect back home. They have
Yes, sir.
relatives, they do come. But there are a lot of Indians who went as indentured labor to, let's say, Fiji, Suriname, etc. They don't even say they are Indians because that gives them a stigma. So they say
Okay.
they are Fijians. They have totally rejected the Indian identity. So you see, Abhi, during the US election, Kamala Harris is part Indian, part African. So when she says, I'm a black woman, the other political party says, sometimes she says she's Indian, sometimes she says she's black. what is she? The identity becomes
Yes.
a very important thing. So identity is something that you will keep hearing in the diaspora and migration course.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's take it forward. Uh, Diversified classical phase forced migration. So let me come to this. Cohen identifies 5 types of diasporas. So these are the various 5 types of. Now again, these are not watertight compartments. Now you will see there is a fuzzing which goes on. So 5 types: victim, refugees, Jews, African, Armenian, Irish, Palestinian, imperial, ancient Greek, British, Russian, Spanish, labor, indentured Indians, Chinese, trade, business, Lebanese. It's not that the Jews were not there in trade. There would be some Jews in trade. There would be some, British who might be in labor or service. So these are not watertight compartments, but broad, identified 5 types of diasporas. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Diaspora formations are complex and the reasons of their formation is manifold in contemporary times. Identities have become deterritorialized because today I don't need to be an Indian to stay in India. I can stay just about anywhere, and with a 24/7 connectivity and a faster transformation, I could be a citizen of any country and still be an Indian. Diasporic identities are constructed and deconstructed in a flexible and situational way. I am an Indian and I am an African. Zoran Mamdani, who's standing as a New York mayor candidate, is half Indian. He's the son of Meera Nair and an African anthropologist. So he's an
Okay.
Indian, American Indian, and he's an American African, Afro American.
Yes, sir.
So you see how identities are split and they have become extremely flexible. And people, and the interesting part is Mandani was born in Uganda because Meera Nair came from Uganda. Meera Nair's parents moved to Uganda, from where they moved to US. So there are a lot of families which, when Uganda went through a political turmoil, they left Uganda. So a lot of Indian families went into Africa, and when African states went into turmoil, they moved to UK, they went to US, and so on and so forth. So are they Indians? Are they Africans? Very difficult to classify.
Yes, sir. There was this trend a few years ago where people were, getting their ethnicities discovered, like
Hmm.
what percentage of what
Hmm.
you belong to,
Hmm.
and they were really, really complex. There were like 5 to 6 types of ethnicities that would come across.
Obviously. Think about the fact, from 1 million years ago, human beings came out of Africa and inhabited the whole world. So
Yes,
all
sir.
of us have all kind of identities. We do not know in 5 or 7 or 10 generations where came from the intermixing, the movement of genes. Nobody knows.
Yes, sir.
Defining the term or coming out with an ideal type is often confronted with the problem of applicability. To treat diaspora as homogeneous term would be unfair, as each case is marked different from the other. So Indian diaspora is not a homogeneous community. There could be an American diaspora, American Indian diaspora, but again, American Indian diaspora can be an American Indian Tamil diaspora, American Indian Telugu diaspora, American Indian Malayali diaspora.
Yes, sir.
What needs to be highlighted here is that every act of migration does not necessarily lead to diasporic formation. Migration does not lead to diasporic formation.
Yes.
Okay. So, for example,
Okay.
all those migrants to Fiji or Suriname did not form a diaspora. They became Fijians, or they became Surinamese.
Yes, sir.
Time has to pass. Time has to pass before the migrant community can be called a diaspora. when they are able to form networks there in their host countries and connection back home, then a diaspora formation happens. Okay, so let's look at this other term, transnationalism, idea initiated by American scholar Randolph Bourne. Again, you don't need to remember names. Initiated during World War One, idea of American cosmopolitanship rather than assimilation. So assimilation and cosmopolitan is multiple cultures existing together. Assimilation is you are assimilating one culture into another. For
Okay.
example, India has always been a cosmopolitan place in terms of multiple cultures coexisting together.
Yes, sir.
India has always been, a place where multiple cultures would come, and that is why, if you look at, the diversity of India, there are so many cultures which exist.
Yes,
It
sir.
gave rise to a debate related transnational connections of people who carry their cultures at the time of migration into shaping several postmodern, cosmopolitan, and multicultural. So, a multiculturalism. So, this is also a debate whether a multiculturalism is better or a single culture. The idea of a multiculturalism is obviously the richness of or the the diversity does great things in terms of perspective. If there is no diversity, think about the fact, if all trees around you are the same tree, if all animals around you are the same animals, what fun would it be? If all
Yes, sir.
people think and talk the way you talk, what's the fun? It is actually this diversity and multiculturalism which enhances your experiences.
Yes, sir. Even in psychology and spiritualism, traveling and meeting new people, creating new horizons is considered really beneficial for the neural networks.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, because that's how, see, that is why we talk about, we always say that any culture, and historically, again, if you read history, you will see that all cultures borrowed from each other and shared with each other. All religions borrowed from each other and shared with each other. It's this today, thought process of, mine is the best, or a single culture, or the single way. It does not work.
yes, sir.
In fact, it's detrimental, because inevitably, as I said, if all trees were the same around you, then it would be extremely boring.
Yes,
And
sir.
inevitably, when when there is a multicultural scenario, then there is new ideas which get generated. There is a newness, innovation happens, diffusion of new ideas happen, and so on and so forth. So let's introduce the last term, which is globalization. Development
Yes,
of
sir.
an increasing integrated global economy, free trade, free flow of capital. And interestingly, now we also notice the fact that while these terms of global connections, globalization, faster networks, faster communication is happening simultaneously, there is this political movements of protectionism, closing borders, not wanting to get people inside, calling people names. These
Yes, sir.
are, it's a contra culture to the culture of opening up. It's like a reaction to the opening up which has happened.
Yes, sir.
Globalization implies that the global subordinates the local and the national. So, essentially, one of the factors is when there is a free movement of people and goods, everybody tends to benefit. Politically, then it becomes a problem, because remember, politics operates at a different level.
Yes, sir.
So, what we are seeing today is a political reaction uh, to the notion of globalization and so on and so forth. While transnationalism denotes transcending the strict distinction of national boundaries, globalization implies development of an increasingly integrated global order which overrides the local and national. So now think about the fact, if there is an overriding global order, the local or the national political system will feel threatened.
Yes,
And
sir.
that is what is happening. What else is make America great again? It's a national reaction to a globalized order.
Yes.
Both transnationalism and globalization espouse for free flow of capital, ideas, people, and complement each other. The idea of internet is a free flow of idea.
Yes, sir.
So now when with social media, you sitting at any part of the country can see what is happening in other parts of the country, the traditional power structures which were commanding information to come to you are now getting threatened,
Yes, sir.
because they don't want you to see other cultures, because once you see other cultures, new ideas come into your mind.
Yes, sir.
So
The
if youngs,
accountability increases.
huh?
The accountability increases
Not
of
just the
every single
accountability.
action.
Now you are, you have to find out different ways to engage with the young.
Yes, sir.
So the old order cannot understand the new order of young people who play video games, who are influencers. They make money out of influencers, and they feel it is, they cannot understand it, and that is why they try and contain or control the youngsters. So essentially it's a political process.
Yes,
So rather than engaging and understanding politically, they want to stop. You can't do this.
yes, sir.
So you understand. So instead, so always the traditional political structures get threatened whenever a new thing comes about.
Yes, sir. Instead
Okay.
of actually harnessing new ways of thinking and decision
Engage,
making.
engaging.
Yes, sir.
So today, for example, you need a new way of processes, new way of engaging, new way of understanding. But why would I need, if I'm a political, a traditional political power, my power is being threatened. Why would I need to understand? I would bring down the force to stop the new things from happening. And we have
Yes, sir.
seen historically that new things always keep marching on, irrespective of whatever the traditional powers were. So, irrespective of the fact that the Trump administration is trying to, keep the traditional power structure of America intact, today there are multiple power structures which are emerging. And in fact, global South is doing much better than global North, which is threatening the global North.
Yes, sir.
So interesting. Become fashionable and widely used term, especially while referring to economic and international organization, terrorism, and diaspora. So, whenever we talk about diaspora, we use the term transnationalism,
Yes.
closely linked to forces of globalization, modern communication technology, easy and affordable transportation, demographic imbalance created by declining population in some parts, acceptance of growing diversity, multiple identities around the world. So this is a constant thing which is happening. Over history, people have always been migrating. When they are migrating, they will interact with the locals. There is intermingling of genes, there is intermingling. So now if you go into the West, you will see, as a stand-up, there is a stand-up comedian, Russell Peter, who says, no longer do you see white, you see shades of beige, brown, and black.
Yes, sir.
That's the way the world is moving. Transnational relationships are maintained and sustained through a web of social networks which circulates knowledge, skills, and intelligence across borders. Transnational connections between societies, cultures, people across the world have impacted economic, social, political fields across nations. So today, you need not be sitting in your house, you need not be sitting in Delhi to attend this class. You can be sitting anywhere. You
Yes, sir.
could be possibly sitting in Kuwait, you could be sitting in America, you could be sitting in Canada, and we could be still talking over Zoom.
Yes, sir.
Helps in understanding global issues starting from politics, criminal activities, social, economic, and cultural ones. So today you cannot stop, different cultures from being beamed inside your home. So again, the problem is the process of engagement rather than trying to stop, the media from coming in or transnational flows.
Yes, sir.
Advances in transportation, communication over the 2 decades that were unavailable to it was not that movement did the cultures did not borrow from each other, or religions did not borrow. For example, Harappan civilization also did trade with Sumer, with Egypt, because there were these transportation problems. There were these traders who would take ships or go by mules. The process was a very lengthy
Slow.
process. Today
Yes, sir.
it is instantaneous in real time. So it is not that something new has happened, but whatever was happening earlier has speeded up.
Yes, sir.
Transnational from above, like supranational political and economic bodies. For example, today Facebook is almost like a nation. It's doing transnationalism from above. It is connecting people from across the world. It is connecting
Yes.
Indians sitting in Canada, US with Indians in India.
Yes, sir.
And translation from below, which involves transnational migration and migrant experience in forging and sustaining familiar economic, cultural, and political ties. Now, the point is, you have bodies like World Bank, European Union, which is transnationalism from top. And then individual people, their experiences is from bottom. They're experiencing being shared on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Then there are theories of transnationalism, affects diverse area of governance, interstate politics, foreign policy, social values, cultural constructs. Translocality feels translocal. The idea that nation state has been displaced as an excessive mediator of. So today, earlier, the connectivity between two sets of people was through a state, through a nation state. Now people can connect directly through a social media. So think
Yes, sir.
about the fact that earlier you had to go through possibly a politician or a bureaucrat to connect. To now you can connect using Facebook.
Yes.
You can exchange ideas, you can exchange information. You can transfer money. You don't need a bureaucrat or a politician to do things. You can directly
Yes, sir.
connect. And think about the fact that how much this would affect the traditional power structures. They would get threatened.
Yes, sir.
Despite transnational practices, states continue to remain the focal points of international order, but there are now many more actors. State still is very important, because if you have to migrate, you need a visa, you need a passport, which is given by states. When I
Yes, sir.
use the word state, it is a political entity.
Yes, sir.
Has made transnational spaces permeate to local level, generating So transnational practices are what? A person sitting in some part of the world can connect to another person from their village, and can transfer money, can transfer culture, can transfer ideas, can transfer news, can bring about a change in education, and so on and so forth. Transnational practices. Connections strengthen rather than erase local identities. It does not prevent the integration of immigrants into the. So better the immigrant is integrated educationally and professionally, the more likely is to. So inevitably, the more comfortable you are and you are integrated into the society, the more you will establish transnational practices. So you see, educated, skilled Indians who are in the US, who went in the US in the 60s and 70s, are more apt at doing transnational practices back home and with other places, because they are firmly integrated into the US society, and now they have time and money and resources to have connectivity across with various groups. Then there are types of transnationalism. Uh, Total human. Okay, so what are the various? Has challenged homogenization, has led to repositioning of states. As I said today, because of these connectivities, state is there, but there are other actors which have come in. Transnationalism encourages heterogeneity, discourages homogeneity. So, what was the okay? Hang. I'm. Let me. I didn't have this types of transnationalism. So it could be political consciousness, it could be long distance nationalism. So in your unit, there will be a couple of transnational types of transnationalism. It could be economic, it could be political. Then let's look at globalization. Who defines globalization? Widening, intensifying. We have already gone through it. Intensified, speeding up, growing impact of worldwide connect. So today, and another is a result of globalization is the fact that anything which impacts one area impacts the whole world. So, for example, the Ukraine-Russian conflict, which is a very local conflict, has impacted the food grain availability in the world because Ukraine is one of the largest producers of wheat. Suddenly, the wheat prices went up because of the war. This is how connectivity is. This globalization is impacting the world. Has been a buzzword for 3 decades. No consensus on the process of when it started. Give different started point. Many scholars said globalization started after the 90s in the aftermath of the end of the Cold War. So there was a Cold War between US and earlier there was the USSR, which subsequently broke down, and currently there's Russia. So and this connect, and we will see in the MDI 7 and 8 how the globalization is affecting economics, labor, etc., etc.
Okay.
There are 3 points when we can say that the process started. Firstly, integration of Asia. Again, these are various perspectives on when the globalization started. 1000 AD, 1500 AD, and the Industrial Revolution of 1800 AD. So, in case there is a short note on globalization, you can basically write some of these points. There was a single global world economy, division of labor trade from 1500 onwards. 1500 was the time when the European powers started their quest on colonization. In fact, one of the reasons for the start of industrial revolution was because these colonies were able to produce capital and labor for the Western countries to start industrial revolution. It was the 16th century that came to be the European world economy based on the capitalist mode of production. And in MDI 7 and 8, we will read about the various forms of production and the dominant mode of production today being the capitalist mode of production. Several parts of the world only became incorporated in the world economy sometimes between 50 and 1850. So this is a whole thing on globalization. In fact, when you go through the unit, there will be a certain summarization that you can do. You can, remember 2, 3 points which you can elaborate to write a short note or a long answer on what is globalization.
Okay, sir.
Globalization into 3 periods. Again, see, various scholars have given, how this globalization works. 3 types of positions on globalization: hyper-globalist, skeptics, and transformationists. In academics, one of the interesting things I keep telling people and students who come into this class, do not get stuck on right or wrong. These are perspectives, again, depending on which scholar gave this perspective. Hyper-globalists
Yes,
are those who are strong supporters of globalization. So if you talk to people, there'll be big votaries of globalization. They are called the hyper-globalists, strong supporters. Globalization are a
yes.
historic set of economic, cultural, and political changes that have happened. Now, again, remember, nothing happens in a deterministic way. There are many more factors which happen. Then They believe major impacts have been made by advancements in information and communication technology due to digital regulation. Believe that nation states have become less important. Present situation is of a borderless world. These are hyper globalists, extremely positive about globalization.
Yes.
Then there are skeptics who think globalization is a daydream, integrated world economy does not exist. A lot of trade happens inside the country, and cross-border trade is not a new phenomena. Believe that idea of globalization has been advocated by many for the advancement of market-oriented economic aims. So hyper-globalists, then there are skeptics, and there are transformationalists who are in between these two. Major
Yes.
changes have happened, but old and established traditional features have not withered away. It's the same thing as, when social media came in, there were this hyper globalist who said, oh, all traditional media like newspaper will die, TV will die, radio will die.
Yes, sir.
But that's not happened. So you see, the old does not wither away, it reforms itself and works with the new.
Yes, sir.
Then there is traditions of realism, liberalism, and critical theory. Realists believe globalization is a creation of dominant states for the underdeveloped or developing states to further their dominance. Become so inevitably again, this perspective is that globalization is a way by which, let's say, the global north tries to dominate the global south. Liberals hold a positive view, has led to maximum utilization of resources. Liberals believe that this is brought about by political, social, and inevitably we have seen that everything which happens, or any change which happens, which will have desired and undesired consequences. There is never a
Yes, sir.
deterministic way things happen. Then there are critical theories adopt an oppositional behavior towards globalization, created a hierarchical order with huge disparities between rich and poor and among countries, triumph of global capitalist order. So these are three various positions on globalizations. There is a feminist theory. There's a fourth position. Feminist theory linked globalization to increase gender inequalities. And if you actually look at the fact that there is an increase in gender inequality, but there is also a perspective that globalization is enabling women to migrate more, to travel more. In
Yes,
fact,
sir.
there is a whole feminization of migration which is happening because of globalization.
Yes, sir.
As a movement of women from underdeveloped regions to developed regions for work, feminization of migration. So you see, we have to straight. It's neither good, neither bad. There are consequences. We look at the various consequences.
Yes, sir.
Three main types of globalization. Let's quickly go through it: economic, cultural, spread of consumerism, rise of individualism, economic and political dominance one, and political globalization. Because economic needs a political backup. Where states were one masters of market, now the markets which are on many issues are the masters of governments on state. So you see, when the Trump administration decided to put in tariffs, the market reacted with the Sensex, with their Dow Jones and S&P falling, and the bond market falling, and he had to put a pause on the tariffs. He is still going back and forth.
Yes, sir. So the whole dominance is gone. Like
So
there
the
is
whole
more interconnectedness. Like
Oh,
a tradi Yes, sir.
of course. Because today, with this kind of interconnectedness, everybody is going to be impacted.
Yes,
So
sir.
instead of the whole world coming together to understand that migration is good, and there are enough researchers which have proved that, there was this research, famous research in Sweden, which says that because of migration, the Swedish economy has done this much better. Still, the politics of migration plays out, leads to states making laws against migration. So
Yes,
this
sir.
complex negotiation is going on from
Even
what it.
there is
Bolo.
There is a study. I don't remember the whole um, quote, but the study was like people who migrate, they don't steal the job, like they don't steal the jobs. They actually create more
Correct.
cultural employment.
Correct.
So there are more.
Because they are able to come out with new ideas. See, the whole
Yes, sir.
innovation comes out of the whole tech sector in the US is made out of Indians and Chinese.
Yes, sir.
Designing their policies to attract more and more foreign direct investment. The wages are being kept low. So this transnational, in fact, today most of the manufacturing happens in China at low cost. In fact, a whole lot of manufacturing happens in global south because it gives them the global north advantage. Globalization and sovereignty crisis, far-reaching changes brought about by increasing technology, decrease in communication, time, distance, cost, shift in ideological political matrix, uh, departure of Cold War, and the rise of new. So the current, political ideology is what is called the neoliberalism. It's become a dominant rhetoric. It's basically, capitalism in a new bottle. It's called neoliberalism, essentially, which says that the state will not intervene in the economic order and let the market take care of itself to the detrimental of people. So there are various fights which are going on, which we will read in MDI 7 and 8, these units.
Okay.
So let's quickly sum up. So there are many concepts which come in. Try and get some keywords, and that will allow you to construct your answer in your examination. Do not get stuck with details, too many details, because obviously there are other things that you're doing. If you
Yes,
are
sir.
able to take down keywords, you will be able to, construct your answer in your examination as well as your assignments. Have often been used interchangeably, are two different terms that complement each other. Global against the national, barriers by transnational connectivity, closer integration. If there is no migration, there is no question of formation of diaspora. Not all migrant communities can be termed diaspora.
Yes, sir.
It's a permanent or settled migration having social, cultural, emotional links. Various types of diversity and complexity in formation of diaspora, as well as the relationship with home and host countries. A
Yes.
diaspora always has a relation with home and host countries. They are, trading to countries.
Yes, sir.
And translation strengthens the local. Processes have transformed several established concepts and practices like nation state, citizenship, cultural espousing. That's why today, because of transnationalism, nations are given dual citizenship. There are many nations
Yes.
which are now giving dual citizenship. They say that irrespective of the fact that you might be a citizen of another country, you can also take the citizenship of our country, because they've realized the fact that the diaspora has a phenomenon. India is one of the has the largest diaspora and the largest remittances coming out of this diaspora.
Yes, sir.
There are these websites, migration resources, migration data portal, which can give you in case you want to read more. There is a diaspora resource library. These are websites you can access. And then there are these references and suggested readings in case you want to read further. There are some references. Okay. So in case you want to ask me a question, let me switch on my video. Hi. Any question
Hello,
in
sir.
Hi. In case there is a question you would like to address or ask, and
Sir, I wanted to ask that you just mentioned that some countries are giving dual citizenships. Can you name a few countries, for example?
Google, just now
Okay,
Google,
okay. Yeah, for sure.
Google and tell on this class. Let's see
Okay.
what comes out.
1 second, sir.
Does it give you anything?
Yes, sir. There are 123 countries.
Which is giving dual citizenship, for example?
Um, for example, there is Turkey, then
So you see, as each country is understanding the role of diaspora and their contribution, it's a political call to decide whether to give a dual citizenship. Countries are even allowing diasporas to vote for their national elections.
yes, sir. So
So
there
there
is
are
Canada, France, Australia, Belgium.
so all these countries can give dual citizenship. Certain countries are also allowing the diaspora to vote for their national election and even have representatives in their national parliament. Because at
Yes,
the
sir.
end, think about the fact, Indian diaspora is the biggest diaspora, has the largest remittances. Won't this diaspora saying that we are giving so much foreign exchange to the country, why should we have a representative or a couple of representatives in your parliament to discuss policies on diaspora?
Yes, sir.
And India being a different case because it's a huge country, huge diversity. It's not a very simple political take to kind of how to negotiate between the local constituency and the diaspora constituency. But smaller countries, it becomes much easier.
Yes, sir.
They are engaging. All countries are today looking at engaging with their diasporas. It gives them a heft in the host countries.
Yes, sir. There is a new term emerging, migration diplomacy, which is
Absolutely,
becoming
absolutely.
prominent.
In fact, the Indian US nuclear deal was facilitated by the Indian diaspora.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also, sir, are we going to study feminization of diaspora and everything with
Yes.
migration?
Yes. So what
Okay.
we see inevitably in multiple units, when you will look at individual units, you will get only a small window into the larger subject. But when you go through multiple units, all these things will, come together. So
Okay.
many a times, in case you are not able to understand a particular concept or a particular idea, just park it, note it down somewhere. In some other unit, those things will come together.
Okay, sir.
That's the way
Uh,
typically it happens.
okay, sir. So one more question I asked this earlier as well. Actually, the assignments which are given, the PDF which is given, it's dated 2023. So
Hmm.
I was beginning with the assignment, so I was a little worried that if I need to consider that one or should I wait for a new assignment PDF?
Sada sir, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm just Nabya, that assignment I'll send to your batch this week only. Okay, the
Okay,
recent
So
one.
don't do the 2023 one.
Yes, yes. It is almost
okay,
over. This week I'll
okay,
send. Okay.
okay, sir. Okay,
So
okay.
Navya,
Thank you, sir.
just put a small message in your WhatsApp group that the new assignments for this particular batch will be shared by Sada sir
Mhm.
Okay,
as soon as possible.
okay, sir. I'll put it.
ठीक है?
Okay. Yes, sir. So that's all from my side.
Wonderful. So you have a nice Saturday. We'll meet each other tomorrow with MDI 3, 5 to 7 again, and
Okay,
we'll
sir.
take it up from there. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Bye then.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye,
Okay.
Sada sir.
Thank you. Thank you.